Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, the number one mistake to avoid in your quest for a blissful and happy career.
Yeah, we see we've got some people dialing in. We're going to get started right on time here in just 1 minute. But welcome. And while we're waiting for others to dial in and we're waiting for our start time, if you want to just throw your name in the chat and let us know who you are and where you're dialing in from. We'd love that. So don't be shy. Oh, Gentry, hello. I'm so glad you could make it.
Karen, so glad you could make it from San Francisco.
Oh, welcome, Wanda, Seattle. Tammy, oh, I'm so glad you're on. Tammy from Roseville.
Hi, Liz from Boise, Idaho, and Heather from Durango, Colorado.
Colorado. Hey, Heather. Cheryl from Boise, welcome. Oh, hello. It's fun to see some of my friends on here. Thank you so much for dialing in. It looks like we're going to have a good group who participates, which is great because we're going to have some participation for you as we go through this time together. So we are excited. Good to see you, Tammy. Okay, Sue, are we at time? Should we roll?
Yeah, let's roll.
Okay, we're going to get started right on time. We want to honor your time, and I'm sure we'll have people dial in as we go. This is also going to be recorded, so we're going to be sending it out as a follow-up as well. So welcome, everyone. I am Genny Heikka. Welcome to this webinar where we're going to be covering the number one mistake to avoid in your quest for a blissful and happy career. And I am here with my dear friend and colleague, Sue.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here and have you all join us.
Yeah. So Sue and I, some of you may already know, we are career coaches and we are friends and we share a passion for helping women, which is why we're doing this webinar together. And we just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to dial in. We know you are all busy women. You have a lot on your plate. So we are grateful for the time that you're spending here with us. And it's really our hope that you're going to walk away from this time feeling encouraged and feeling equipped in your career path and your next steps moving forward. So I just want to really encourage you to take this time for you. Sue and I both know how it is to dial into webinars and to be multitasking, and you might have a few screens open, you might even have a few monitors in front of you, or maybe you're catching this on the fly, listening to it later while you're doing stuff around the house or something like that. But we really just encourage you to pause, take this 1 hour for yourself. If you can, get something to write on because we're going to be covering some key things and walking you through some practical exercises. So we sent you a workbook ahead of time that you should all have. And if you've had a chance to print that out, great. We're going to be pointing to a couple of pages in that as we go. But if you haven't, don't worry about it. If you can just grab a journal, piece of paper, notepad, something like that to be able to write on as we go, that would be great as well. So Sue's going to talk.
Actually, I wanted to point out too that I just activated it. So if you want to grab that workbook right now, you'll see there's a place to download it in the chat.
Awesome. Okay, well, Sue's going to talk a little bit more in a few minutes about who we are for those of you who are on here that we don't yet know and why we can help you. But before we dive in, I just want to take a look at this next slide and ask you a question. If you have ever felt like this, or if you are feeling like this, maybe a little frustrated, maybe a little lost, sometimes a little drained, maybe overwhelmed. Maybe you're at a place right now in your job where you're just not feeling fulfilled or able to use your strengths and your passions, or maybe you're facing a job search ahead of you right now and it feels daunting and you're really trying to navigate, how do I do resume and prepare for interviews and network, especially in a virtual world. So wherever you're at right now, whether that's job hunting, whether you're in a job that you're not quite yet fulfilled, or you're not quite fulfilled and you're thinking, gosh, there's got to be something else out there for me. Or maybe you're in a job and it's not necessarily a job that you dislike, but it's a job that doesn't fit your life circumstances necessarily anymore. I know so many things have changed, especially for women as a result of the pandemic. So wherever you're at, we just want to encourage you and first of all, let you know that you are not alone, and also let you know that we're going to be covering some, as I mentioned, information, tips, and exercises that will hopefully help you right where you're at, whatever your situation is.
And as Jenny said, we have so much to share with you, and we're so excited to be able to do that. Before we jump in, I wanted to give you, for those of you who don't know, a little more about our background. I'm a master certified career and strengths coach, and I have a master's degree in career development. And Jenny is a master career coach and has her certification in emotional intelligence and has her MBA. And we've both been coaching women on this topic of finding, work you love and helping women get on their path for many, many years. And there's just one mistake that we always come across that people are making. And so we're really excited to share with you what that is so you can avoid it. And we're also going to be providing, practical steps for you that you can apply on your journey, as well as key tips on getting clear on who you are and what you love, more confidence and clarity. And we're going to offer some inspiring stories about women who have taken this journey as well.
Awesome. And one fun thing, we encourage you to stay with us until the end. Not only do we not want you all to miss some of the exercises that we're going to be doing and some of the interaction we'll have, but we have a little present for you, a little gift for you at the end, and we'll share what that is when we get there. So make sure and stay with us till the end.
And I just noticed Kathy joined us from Oregon. Welcome, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Yeah, so we're excited to have you here with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just wanted you to imagine for a moment. Sometimes it's hard when you're not here, but imagining is powerful. So imagine that you're in a career or a job that you love, and you're so excited to go to work. You pop out of bed in the morning. You feel energized at work. You get to use your strengths. People see you and appreciate for who you are, and you feel like you're making a difference. And at the end of the workday, you actually feel energized and happy and can't wait to get back to it.
Yeah. And if you are not feeling that way, again, the reminder that you are not alone. So Gallup, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with Gallup, they do a bunch of studies, and one of the statistics that was shared, and this was actually pre-pandemic, but was that 85% of the world's workers are just going through the motions. So they are not engaged, they are not fulfilled in their job, they're not liking their job. And most recently, this was back from a study I just read from Gallup in the beginning of March, statistics specific to women as a result of the pandemic. They found that women's well-being has slipped as our levels of stress and worry have risen. So we have a lot more that we're juggling, have faced a lot of changes, especially for women as a result of the pandemic. And the workforce has lost over 2 million women since COVID began. In this study, they shared some quotes from women, and one of the quotes that jumped out at me that Gallup shared was, one woman said, "This year has been a roller coaster blur of exhaustion, treading water, self-doubt, and loss of identity." So if any of that resonates with you, just put a yes in the chat or a yes, been there. And I think we've all felt that to some extent, even if it's little moments throughout the last year. Yeah. Wanda, Liz, Karen, yeah. So again, the reminder that you are not alone. These have been challenging times, especially for women. And Sue and I, in our work with women over the years, we've been able to see what happens when you go through some of the exercises we're going to take you through today and avoid that number one mistake that we're going to share with you in just a minute, that you really can find work that you love. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel if you are in a place where you're feeling discouraged or you're in a job search and that's feeling daunting for you.
So before we reveal what the big mistake is, we want to know what you think it is. So I'm going to read 4 options. They're numbered 1 through 4 as far as what that mistake is. And just take note of what number you think is the right answer and write it in the chat. Number 1, women don't apply to enough jobs. Number 2, don't want it badly enough. Number 3, don't take the time to figure out who they are and what lights them up. Number 4, wait too long to make a change. Okay, so we see a lot of number 3s. There's a number 4 in there.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Excellent. Well, the right answer is number 3, which is Women don't take time to know who they are and what lights them up. They don't know what their unique strengths, passion, and purpose are. And it's what Genny and I like to call unique brilliance. And we're going to talk more about what unique brilliance actually is. But before we do that, I wanted to just share a little bit about why this is. Like, why is it that we don't take the time to figure this out? And really, if you think about it, we're not taught to do this. Like, even starting from when we're little and we go through school, we spend so much time in school. And for those who go on to college, it's even more time. And there's just not a lot of, we never take a class on how to figure out who we are and what we love and how to translate that into a career. So it's not surprising that that we make this mistake. Sometimes people get lucky and they just know. I know people in my life where they just knew they wanted to be a teacher, or they just knew they wanted to be in marketing, or a doctor or a firefighter or something, and that's great. And so those people are lucky. But most of us, what happens is we get to a point where we have to make a decision. It's like, okay, I have to figure out what I want to do, and we just take kind of a guess. And we end up in a career where it might be okay or it might be really miserable. Mm-hmm. And we then don't really know how to get out of that space. So that's sort of the why. And now we also want to go into what is unique brilliance and why is it so important? If you think of it like this, unique brilliance is kind of like a fingerprint. It's a very unique combination of your strengths, your passion, your interests, your favorite skills, your values, all of these things kind of rolled into what we call unique brilliance. And it's unique to you. There's only one you, and there's only one combination of these qualities. And knowing what your unique brilliance is like having an internal compass. It guides you and it leads you to activities, environments, work that you will love because it fits with what your unique brilliance is. Mm-hmm. And when people tap into this, when you start to share your unique brilliance with the world, it's amazing what happens. It's like this magical combination of you get to show up and share your gifts and be who you are, and it actually makes you happy and fulfilled. Genny, did you want to add anything to that at all?
No, I don't think so. I thought that was a great description. Okay, I'm ready to move to solution.
All right. Well, before we get to solution, which is going to be very shortly, I guess I need to change slides, don't I? I wanted to share a quick story just to kind of portray what this looks like when you tap into your unique brilliance. So many years ago, it was like 10 years ago, it was a long time ago, I was facilitating and running this group program for women who wanted to figure out what they want to do when they grow up. And there were about 12 women in the group. And I remember the very first meeting, we're sitting around this big conference table, and I kicked things off by asking everyone to share, introduce themselves and share something that is unique about them and that they're proud of. And as you can imagine, there was some hesitancy and nobody really wanted to go first. Eventually, as women started sharing, a lot of the answers were like, I'm good at organizing, or I'm good with people and things like that. But it was very general, and there wasn't a lot of confidence and spark behind their answers. And I could tell we kind of had our work cut out for us. So, which I love, so I wasn't sad about that. I knew there was a real opportunity here to help these women really go deeper and figure out what their true brilliance was, their unique brilliance. So we got to work, and they started doing exercises, and we did coaching, and we had this experience where they started to really put these pieces together. And we did that for maybe 2 to 3 of these sessions. It was an 8-week program. And by the third session, or third or fourth session, I'm sitting at the table waiting for class to start. And the women are kind of walking in and greeting each other. And something struck me. I was like, something is different about people And it dawned on me. And what was different was as the women walked in and greeted each other, there was something different about the way they carried themselves. They were lighter, they were brighter, their faces looked different. And what it dawned on me is, at this point, they had started really tapping into their unique brilliance, and they were able to mirror back for each other and support each other in that process. And what I realized is it really changes us. It transforms us, not only internally, but in the way we look as well, because we become bright. And it's just amazing when that happens. And I love that.
Yeah.
So Jenny's going to now talk about what the solution is to this number one mistake.
Yeah, and I love how you talked about unique brilliance being like a fingerprint, because it's so true and we've both seen this in our work with women, is that we really all each have this beautiful, unique identity. So it's not about comparing yourself to others. It's not about competing with others. It's really about digging in and discovering who you uniquely are and what is the unique value that you bring to the table in all that you do. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. So we have this mistake we want to avoid, which is that we see women not taking the time to really understand their unique brilliance and what lights them up. And then here the solution is to get clear on your unique brilliance and what lights you up. And so often when I talk with women, it seems like it's kind of this mystery, like, well, how do I do that? But the good news is there are really some practical, even easy things that you can do to start to narrow this down. And that we're going to take you through 3 different steps just on this webinar that can help you really unearth what your unique brilliance is, tapping into those strengths and passions and purpose that Sue talked about. So if you think about it, it's kind of like a puzzle. So Sue's going to talk about that a little bit, and then I'm going to share a little story with you to give you maybe a little clearer idea of what this can look like.
Yeah, so it is like a puzzle. If you imagine that each piece of your unique brilliance, like if you take your strengths and your passion, your favorite skills, your interests, your values, the list can go on. But each one of those aspects of you is like a puzzle piece. And what happens is when you find a piece, then you find another piece and another piece, and you start to put these pieces together, and it creates this picture, this beautiful picture of you. And it can be like a guiding light for you to be able to see this. And it's very magical to be able to put those together. Marie Forleo has a quote that we love, and what she says is, "The world needs that special gift that only you have." And the truth is that, as I mentioned earlier, we're meant to share our gifts with the world. It's really the key to true happiness and fulfillment and success.
Yeah. And one of the starting points of really uncovering your unique brilliance is being on the lookout. So being intentional about, this is something that I really want to learn about myself. And so being on the lookout. So I worked with a woman who she had just this creative soul, and she was really good at like refurbishing furniture, redecorating, DIY projects, coming up with, amazing recipes. She loved to cook. So there was all these really neat creative things that she did in her life. And she, sometimes we don't really recognize our unique brilliance because it just comes naturally to us. And so we underestimate it, or we don't really pay attention to it. Those are the things that people look at you and say like, gosh, you're so good at that. I wish I could do that. So start thinking about for you, what are the things that just you naturally gravitate toward, the things that you are naturally good at, the things people are complimenting you for all the time that you're like, oh, it's no big deal. And start to be on the lookout for those different things. So when I worked with this woman, what we realized was that she really had this beautiful creativity. And yet in her job, in her career, she wasn't in a place where she was able to express that creativity. And so for her to realize that about herself and to be more intentional about creating opportunities to be able to express that, she was then able to take take small steps toward more fulfillment in her current job without even making like a big shift at that point or anything. So for example, realizing that's one of the things that lit her up was when she was able to do PowerPoint presentations and be able to express some sort of creativity. And so then being able to raise her hand and say, you know, I'll do that more, and creating more opportunities to do that. So that's just a story of what that can start to look like. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be overnight, but just start to be on the lookout for those things that really light you up. So it's kind of the starting point. And we're going to now shift into really some nuts and bolts exercises that we can do.
We're super excited because we really are so excited to have you walk away with some of those pieces to the puzzle. And we invite you to be curious. You know, sometimes you kind of have to put your brain to rest. You don't have to take action on any of these things. This is really just about self-discovery and tapping into this. And you know, what I didn't mention in the story about the group and the women was, you know, just tapping into your unique brilliance is powerful. And with that group, we hadn't even gotten to the part yet where we were translating that into what they want to do for their work. Just the process of tapping into that was transformative in itself. So we want you to experience that power as well. So we're going to walk you through a few exercises, and so you know, grab your workbook or a pen or a paper or whatever, and we'll do this. And then we're going to ask you to share some of your ideas that you come up with in the chat. We'd love to hear what goes on for you with this. So Jenny's going to walk us through the first activity, and it's on page 5 of your workbook.
And if you don't have your workbook printed or open, or if maybe you're listening to this and you're driving or whatever you're doing, working out at the gym maybe or something like that, that's okay. If you can write something down as a result of this exercise, that would be very beneficial, but you don't have to actually have that workbook printed out. But the first exercise we're going to do is think about this question, and ask yourself this question: what did you love doing when you were a little girl? Because sometimes, you know, when we're little girls, you know, when we're kids, we just gravitate toward the things that we enjoy, that light us up, that we're maybe good at, and we don't necessarily think it through, or, you know, we're not necessarily intentional about creating those opportunities. We just do the things that we're good at, or we love, or we think they're fun. And then life happens, and a lot of times we lose touch with that over time, right? Maybe we go to high school or college, or we just kind of land in a career because it was the job that we could find and that sort of thing. And nothing wrong with that. But being able to go back and tapping into, like, gosh, what did I love to do when I was a little girl? So I'm going to just share my story with you. Some of you, if you've heard me speak in the past, you might have heard this, but be thinking for yourself as I'm talking, and start writing down, because we're going to, like Sue said, we're going to ask you to share some things in the chat in just a minute, but start writing down some of those things that maybe you loved doing as a little girl. But for me, if I look back on my years, you know, all the way back to literally elementary school, I was always one to, you know, participate in every talent show that I could. I grew up dancing as a little girl, and I loved getting in front of my class and saying speeches. I entered a speech contest in 7th grade and went to the state capitol and things like that. And I just loved being able to get up in front of audiences and be able to encourage and inspire people and share. And so if I look at that and I think about what I love to be able to do today in my role coaching women and speaking and working with different groups, I see such a parallel. And that was something that was born way, way, way back then. So I share that example just to get you thinking about your own life too. You know, what were the things that you loved doing as a little girl? And then ask yourself, are you doing them in any way, shape, or form in your life today? And if not, can you create some opportunities to test it out? And to do it maybe even in little ways or small steps. So I would love for you to put some things in the chat and share with us, what did you love doing as a little girl? Anyone brave to share?
While we're waiting, I'll share what I used to love to do. I mean, there were a lot of things, but I used to love playing Peoples and Barbies. Yeah. And, you know, there's so many parallels to, you know, just loving to talk to people and things like that. It looks like, oh, we got some good answers here.
Yes.
Is it Shayna? Is it, talking and organizing, and then Gentry, dancing, organizing groups, and leading others.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love that. Wanda, taking photographs, writing in my diary, playing outdoors, listening to music, helping others. Tammy, I was the bossy talker and organizer. Love it. Cute.
For those
Anyone
who are
else?
responding, does anybody, do you see the parallels, yes or no, with how what you love to do when you were young plays out in your life today?
Yeah. And I see Paige writing, creating, helping others in need, solving problems.
Mm,
Shanna, absolutely. Yeah. Good.
excellent.
Good, good. I love the sharing. Cheryl, reading, playing pretend, especially being a grown-up mother teacher. Love it. Love it, love it. So good. So continue, and I don't want to cut anyone off, so feel free to keep sharing in the chat and we'll keep checking. Yes, the writing in my diary, says Wanda. This summer I will have 3 published book chapters. Writing is my new thing.
Oh, I love
Congratulations. Yay. Oh, that is
it.
awesome.
Amazing.
Learning, playing pretend, being outside with nature and animals. Liz, awesome. Woohoo, Tammy. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you all for sharing. And again, continue to write and explore as we go through these 3 exercises. And even spend more time on this one too. Maybe just set aside, maybe even just 10 minutes later today, tomorrow, something like that. Grab a cup of coffee or tea, whatever might be your thing. And, kind of dig deep through some memories. Maybe look through some old childhood photographs and think about the things that you loved. And then, like Sue was saying too, ask yourself, can you connect the dots between those things and what you're doing today? Wanda says this is an awesome exercise. Yeah, yeah. I love it because it really taps into your innate strengths, your innate gifts, your innate talents. So awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay,
Good
Sue, I'm going
work.
to pass the baton back to you for the second question we're going to walk through as a group.
Okay. This is on page 6 of your workbook if you have that. So this next exercise is called the time flies test. And what it is really when we're in our zone, when we are in our strength zone and like we're able to tap into that unique brilliance, time flies. And so when time is flying by, you're tapping into something that is connected to your unique brilliance. So we'd love for you to think about and let us know in the chat too. When have you felt in the zone, powerful, confident, and excited, where time just flies by? And I can give an example while you're thinking about that. From a very young age, I mean, anytime I could be connecting with somebody on a deep level, like I can even remember even in college, being in the middle of a party with millions of people everywhere, and I would be kind of zoned in talking to one person and sort of seeing their strengths and like being super excited about their view on life and things like that. Same thing when I'm coaching today or facilitating groups. Like time goes. I'm not very good at managing time when I'm leading a workshop or coaching because I get so caught up in the moment, and I just love it. So we'd love to hear what comes up for you. When does time fly for you?
Yeah.
Liz.
Liz, socializing. Oh, sorry, Sue, go
No,
ahead.
you go ahead, Jenny.
I see Liz shared socializing, meeting new people, connecting with people. I'm the same, Liz. Wanda, facilitating leadership and emotional intelligence courses. Yes. Sharing my testimony to a public audience, creating social media posts. I love that. I love that. Gentry, designing experiences. Beautiful. Shauna, intentional listening, spending time with other women. Yep.
Beautiful.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, and I, just to share some things similar to what you shared, Sue. And for me, I think too, it's when I'm in that place where I'm able to help a woman, whether it's having coffee with a friend or whether it's coaching or maybe even a group, if I feel like I'm able to help somebody move forward or get unstuck or kind of move closer to their goal or their dreams, that's just like time flies. We could sit and talk for 2. In fact, I had a 2-hour coffee date this week and it just time flew.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and having this awareness of when time flies, like when you're in the moment and you realize, wow, an hour just went by and it felt like 2 minutes. Like
Yeah.
take note of that, jot down, like, hey, I was doing this and the time flies test, definitely showed that you were in your unique brilliant zone.
Yeah, and a resource that I'd love to share, and this is a book that both Sue and I have read and we both really like, is called Designing Your Life. And it is written by two Stanford professors. But it has a section in there where it says, pay attention to these types of situations and keep a good time journal. And so it's literally, and it could just be a piece of paper, but it's literally when you're going throughout your day and you're realizing you're having a quote good time, right? And time is flying and you're thoroughly enjoying or you're immersed in what you're doing, just write it down. Write down what was the activity, what was the environment, who were you with, how did you feel, and start to capture that. And there's power in actually having that written down, because you know how it is. We have these insights about ourselves. Maybe we listen to a great podcast or whatever it might be, and we read a book and we're like, yeah, oh, that's so good. And then 2 months later, what was that again? What was the key thing? And so write it down. Super beneficial.
We're getting some good answers here. Cheryl says, I'm a people manager. I'm in the zone when I am providing positive feedback to my team.
Love it.
Yes. And then Paige, creating, designing workshops, writing, painting, hiking, helping individuals solve problems. One. And Karen, designing brand identities, brand platforms, photo editing, researching for a project.
Oh, I love that, Karen. Yeah.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. I love hearing those.
Yes.
Yeah, love that.
Okay, so I'm going to pass it back to you, Jenny.
Okay.
For our third exercise.
Okay, and this is a question we just want you to really kind of sit down and ponder here for a second. If you had $1 billion and knew you wouldn't fail, what would you do for work? So in other words, if money is not an issue, if failure and rejection is not an issue, even think about it like if you could do anything, regardless of cost, degrees you think you might need to have or not have, whether you think it's realistic or not, what would you do for work? So start thinking about that, because a lot of times we put self-imposed limitations on ourselves. And this isn't to say, like I could say today, well, I decided I wanted to be a doctor. I mean, there's a path that I would need to take in order to do that. So a lot of times, if we have a dream or a stretch goal, or if we have a job we know we would love to do, but we think it's like far out there and unrealistic, doesn't mean we can't put together a transition plan to get there. Sue and I interviewed an amazing woman in our Happy Career Circle Facebook group, and she transitioned out of being a lawyer into a passionate career that she loves in the environmental space. And she had to put together a transition plan to be able to do that. And it took time. It was a year and a half, she said, Sue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she was very intentional about looking at, okay, financially, what does this mean? Insurance-wise, what does this mean? But you can't know where you're going if you don't first take time to either, cast a dream or a vision for yourself, or if you have a dream and you've put it up on the shelf, we encourage you to get it back down. Start thinking about, and we'll open it up for sharing in the chat again in a minute, but some of the answers I've seen in my work with women when I ask them this question, this is one of the questions that I do in some of our intake work for coaching, and some of the answers that I've seen is I would write a novel. I would head up a nonprofit organization. I would run for office. I would get in the medical field. I would totally change careers and industries. I've had people talk about moving out of country, becoming a teacher. So all these different things that are very different from what they may be doing now. So this is really kind of your dream and scheme type of question. So given that, I'd love to hear from all of you. What would you do? Anybody want to share? Okay. So we've got Wanda, motivational speaker, coaching people in recovery from addiction, become a photographer. So many things I'd love to do. I love that, Wanda.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in? What would you do if there were no limitations? Money wasn't an issue. What about something maybe you dreamed of doing when you were little? Oh, I had to work with sea otters. I love that. I love that. A lot of times, too, when you ask yourself this question and you give yourself permission to actually dream, or like I said, get that dream that you might have put up on the shelf a long time ago, get it back down, is it reveals your passions, you know? So you may have, I was just speaking to a woman who was saying, gosh, I would love to be able to work in a nonprofit that focuses on the environment. And so one of her passions is the environment. And so it kind of gives you clues to your passions too, and some of the things that do light you up and some of the things that you're passionate about.
Gentry says, design and lead some type of program that fosters personal growth and discovery, connecting this with nature and wellness. Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yeah, beautiful. Love that, Gentry.
Yeah, as Jenny was saying too, when you dream big and you kind of think about this question, if you had $1 billion and you wouldn't fail, what would you do for work? It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the thing that you're going to do, but when you think about what it is about that and what feeling state are you getting from that and what do you love about that, you can start to look for ways, if that's not practical in your life, you can find things that are, that will bring you the same fulfillment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Wanda says, my first dream was to follow in my father's footsteps and become a law enforcement officer. I fulfilled that dream, retiring in 2019. I'm now trying to figure out what my second chapter will be. That's an exciting place to be.
I love that.
Me too.
And Shauna says, work outside the confines of the church, enter into life with people, helping them to build their best lives spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Don't really know what that job would be. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's so speaks to just, it's so holistic, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Wanda says, beautiful. It is beautiful. I love all of these things that you're sharing.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you, make sure that you write these down for yourself, whether it's in the workbook for this webinar or, like I said, in a journal or something like that. Capture these for yourself as well. Yeah. Anything else on this question, Sue, before we move on and talk about maybe some other ways? Oh, Tammy, I started my second chapter. I always wanted to be a realtor, and now I am. Woo woo.
That is amazing. And I love how you say your second chapter. So many times people say, oh, it's too late to start over, and it's never too late. Once you put your mind to it and you get clear on what you want, like anything is possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Lots of way to go, Tammy, from Wanda. And Karen says, congrats, Tammy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Love it.
Okay. So should we move on?
Yes.
We've given you a few ideas of how you can go deeper with your unique brilliance. So keep working on that. And we wanted to give you some other ideas as well. Some things you can do to get more clues are, think about what people compliment you on regularly. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we sort of brush this off as, oh yeah, whatever, it's not that big of a deal, but people see in us what we don't see in ourselves. And so those compliments are clues. You can also ask friends and family what they see as your strengths and your gifts and things like that. And once again, having people mirror for you, even like if you call one of your parents or something, or a sibling or a best friend, you really get information you may not have known, because sometimes our strengths are so close to us, we don't even know we're using them.
Yeah.
So that can be powerful. You can also read books. One of my favorite authors and life coaches is Martha Beck. She's got some amazing books. My favorite is Finding Your Own North Star. That book really changed my life when I read it, and it's so good at really helping you unpack all those pieces. And then Jenny, what you mentioned, I think you already mentioned designing your life.
Yeah. And there's a couple more that are coming to mind. And another way to really tap into your strengths is the Clifton Strength Finder, the Clifton Strengths Assessment. And both Sue and I highly recommend that. Many of you, I know, I definitely know a handful of you have already done that. But if you haven't, you can go online and you can do their top 5 strengths assessment, which gives you your top 5 strengths, and it's like $19.99. So it's very affordable, and it's a great place to start as far as really tapping into your innate gifts and talents. And one of the coolest things about your strengths is that when you know what your strengths are and you spend more time doing those strengths, they become stronger. So if you take your natural talents and you spend time on them, they actually become stronger. So that's a really exciting thing to think about. But how do they become stronger if you don't really even know what they are? So it's a great way to get clear on your strengths. A couple of other books that I really like is Visioneering by Andy Stanley, talking about vision. And also recently I read Ready to Rise by Joe Saxton, which taps into your unique gifts as well and kind of your calling on your life. So those are just a couple more resources to peek at.
Yeah, and if anybody has any, if you have a favorite book that you want to share in the chat, we'd love to see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then then the last idea is really just give yourself time to reflect. Like we've given you some powerful questions today, but really just carving out time. Sometimes I find like if I go for a walk or a run or something, and I just say, okay, this is my space to really just kind of block out the world and just tune in and really think about this unique brilliance idea. You can really get a lot of good info that way. And sometimes we just have to be intentional about carving out, even if it's 10 minutes or 5 minutes. That can be very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And Wanda is sharing a book recommendation, How Women Rise by Sally Helgeson and Marshall Goldsmith. Sounds great.
I love Marshall Goldsmith.
Yeah, the other thing I want to share before we move on super fast is to pay attention to, we're talking a lot about paying attention to the things that light you up, but also pay attention to the things that don't light you up, the things that dim you, like pay attention to the things that you're just like, oh gosh, that just drains me. It doesn't energize me. So for me, that would be like poring over a spreadsheet or something like that, because that's just not something that energizes me. But being in touch with the things that don't make time fly, that literally make time creep, that can inform you as well, as far as like what are the areas you don't want to lean into, and being aware of that as well can be really helpful.
Yeah, I love that, because sometimes it's almost easier to know what you don't like, especially if you're in a job that you really don't like at all and it just is draining the life out of you.
Yeah.
It can be, just kind of gathering those clues and figuring out why is it so draining can be very informative.
And the last note on that before we move on to is if you're doing something and it's scary, so it's not necessarily you don't like it, you feel this call to do it, but it's scary and you're scared. Maybe it's even, I know somebody had shared a dream of motivational speaking. Maybe it's that when you do that, your knees are shaking. Does that mean that it's not part of your unique brilliance? No, not at all. Sometimes the things that, when you step into the things that you're supposed to do, sometimes that is scary and it's stepping out of your comfort zone. And sometimes that's affirmation that, yep, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm going to conquer this. And the good news is the more that you do that, the easier it becomes. So when we say pay attention to the things that, don't necessarily energize you, but drain you, I'm not talking about the things that are scary, because a lot of times the things that we are called to do are scary. But when you move into that, that's when you often feel that great sense of purpose and passion.
Yeah, that's such a great description, Genny, to really lean into your fear if you know that you're being called to do it. And sometimes, there's kind of a little test you can do. If you imagine yourself on a high dive, we always most of us get that feeling of like, being so high up. But if you look down and when you're thinking about this thing you want to do, and it looks like clear blue water, but it's just scary, that's usually a sign that, it is the right thing to do. But if it feels kind of icky, like you're looking and it just feels murky and not right, then you know that your fear is actually telling you it might not be the right thing to do.
That's good. I love that too.
Yeah. Wanda, thank you for adding that link to finding your own North Star.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. So moving on, on page 8 in your workbook, and I will also tell you what that says in case you don't have that in front of you, but now that we've gone through some of these key exercises with you, and we've talked about some ideas of other ways you can get more clear on your unique brilliance, we'd love for you to think of one step that you can take to get more clarity on your unique brilliance. And that could be as simple as, I'm going to carve out 10 minutes later today to think about this, or I'm going to go buy that book that, somebody that we mentioned that sounded intriguing, or I'm going to go take the StrengthsFinder assessment. So just pick one thing, and it doesn't have to be anything big. Like, it can just, small steps are really what it's all about. Small steps lead to big transformation. And it really takes the pressure off. So, in the chat, we'd love to hear what's one small step you're going to take after this webinar to get more clear on your unique brilliance.
Yeah, love that. Liz says, I'm going to keep a good time journal. Oh, I love that, Liz.
Yes, that's awesome.
Anyone else?
I'm going to get that book, the How Women Rise. That sounds really intriguing.
Yeah, I love that. Gentry says, I also like the good time journal idea. No, I'm going to get that book too.
Karen says, read more about my Gallup strengths. I love it.
Yeah. So good. Amazing. Anyone else want to share? Paige, I'm going to pull out my strengths report this weekend and read back through it. Yes, that's awesome.
Yes, and I wanted to share one of my favorite resources from Gallup is Gallup Theme Thursday. So if you want to listen to a podcast about your strength, it's super fun and you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, and they're really short and sweet.
Yeah. Shauna says, read one of the suggested books. Okay. Excellent.
Cheryl says, review my resume to ensure I'm reflecting the things that light me up. Oh, I love that. That's so key.
Yeah.
And Wanda, share some of the insights I had during this session with my executive coach. I love that, Wanda.
Perfect.
I love that. Amazing. Thank you all for sharing.
Yes, thank you. Excellent work, everyone. So moving on, and feel free to keep sharing if things come to you.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to reiterate our favorite quote: "The world needs that special gift that only you have," by Marie Forleo.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we talked about the number one mistake, and we want to start to wrap this up by just encouraging you to not make that number one mistake and ignore who you are and what lights you up, but rather really continue to get more clarity on your unique brilliance. And just to recap what we've done, you've actually done a lot in this short amount of time. You've asked yourself 3 key questions. What did you love doing as a little girl? We talked about the time flies test. What are the things that make time fly for you? And then really kind of that dreaming question. If you can do anything, what would it be? We've talked about the importance of taking small steps. I think sometimes we hold back from making a move or making a change because we feel like we have to go from A to Z in like a month or a day or a week or whatever it is. And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. But as Sue was just talking about, those small steps can even just be like some of the things that you shared, like read a book or have a conversation or make a phone call or set up an informational interview or spend an hour researching different companies and jobs, that kind of thing. So we've talked about the importance of small steps, and don't put so much pressure on yourself. So you are well on your way to discovering your unique brilliance. And it's our hope that you've even had some little light bulbs going off, or maybe even an epiphany moment in this time together as you've reflected and asked yourself some of those questions. So we want to affirm you. We want to encourage you to keep going on your journey. And we also want to remind you to not do it alone. Don't go on it. Don't go on this journey alone. So many reasons for that, but and I'm sure you all know, community is so important. And it's so neat to see what happens when you surround yourself with others, especially who are on a similar journey as you. So thinking about what Sue shared in the beginning, that story of all of those women and how she saw this shift in how they were kind of mirroring each other. And then there was that new sense of hope and encouragement and equipping. And so we just encourage you, find your people. Make sure you've got people around you as you go through this process. We encourage you to keep going and get even more clarity on your unique brilliance. But definitely don't do it alone. It also helps to have people holding you accountable. When, if you share, oh, I want to be able to do this, or I'm going to do this week, and then you run into that friend the following week and they say, how did that go? Did you do that? And to be able to have people come alongside you and hold you accountable really helps to propel you forward. So we also encourage, I talked a little bit in the beginning about how sometimes this seems like it's a mysterious process. And hopefully in our short time together, you've seen like there are some concrete, almost easy things that you can do. And there really is a roadmap that you can follow to move even further on this path to really finding work you love, whether that's, you're in a job search or you're going to be going in a job search and you want to find a new job that you really love, or if it's making changes in your existing job right now, that there really is a roadmap that you can follow. So it doesn't have to be a big mystery. And Sue is going to touch a little bit more on the roadmap.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, as Genny and I have coached so many women, it's like we saw that key mistake, but we also, discovered this really clear roadmap that helps women go from maybe being miserable or, just not happy in their work to really finding work they love. And there's really 3 steps, and it's very simple. The first step is to get clear on your unique brilliance and what you want. And that's what we've talked about today. So you're already on your way on step 1. Step 2 is explore. Step 1 is about going internal, like self-discovery stuff. It's all about figuring out who you are and what you want. Step 2 is about really looking out into the world of work. And a lot of people skip this step. We kind of assume we know what's out there, and we might look for jobs online, or we might, just based on what we know from our family and friends and past experiences, we think we know. But in reality, there are so many opportunities, and there's so many we can't know what they are. And there's some real strategy to going through this exploration process and really test driving ideas and connecting with people and getting new perspectives and finding niche areas you never thought of in a way where you can combine so many pieces of your unique brilliance in a way that just creates an amazing career. So that's step 2 is explore. And then step 3 is really launch. It's like, create that plan that allows you to find work that not only fits with your unique brilliance, but also fits with your life. We're all women and we have different seasons of life. And, that one big dream, it might not be right in the moment, but, there are other things you can do that can take pieces of that where it does feel right for where you are in your life. So you put all those pieces together, create a plan, and take action. And that can be super powerful.
Yeah. And so we're excited. If you want to come alongside other women in this process, and if you want help going through and continuing in step 1, but help going through step 2 and step 3 that Sue just talked about, Sue and I have been working on our Happy Career Kickstarter program now, which is a coaching series for women that we're just launching. We've been working on this for about a year, combining the process that I take women through in my coaching practice, the process that she takes women through in her coaching practice, and combining it together into an 8-week coaching program for women. So we're excited to just offer it to you. If you are interested in having us come alongside you and being part of a small cohort of women going through this process together, we're going to be starting this on April 21st. We're going to share some more details on how you can sign up if you want, but we are so excited to be able to introduce this and to be able to offer it to you.
So we'll help you take the important steps and actions to find work you love in this group. It's like you'll feel more confident, clear, and more fulfilled as we guide you through these steps.
The one thing I want to just share a little bit too, I'm going to share a little story of a woman and her experience with coaching, but I'm also, and after I do that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what coaching is, because I think a lot of times we're not familiar with what coaching looks like, what would the experience be like? And so hopefully it'll answer any questions if you have those questions. But I worked with a woman, and I'm going to share her words, but she started coaching. She says, during a time where I realized I had lost my way. I wholeheartedly devoted myself to family and raising kids, which has been rewarding in many ways. I just forgot about me during that season unintentionally. Years later, I looked up and asked myself questions like, now what? And who the heck am I? Genny helped pull out the core values and strengths that make me who I am and make me feel alive. She's been an insightful guide who has helped reconnect me with my passion so I can live with purpose and fulfillment. I feel excited about the future and less scared. I'm walking away with tools to help me along the way of this new adventure. And so the reason that I wanted to share that is it's really about, and we can go to the next slide too, if you don't mind, Sue, when we're talking about what is coaching. Oh, you can go back. I'm ahead of myself, sorry. When we talk about coaching, it's really about you're the expert of your life. And as a coach, Sue and I, we assume that, but it's really like you're in the driver's seat. We're next to you in the passenger seat with the GPS. So it's about having somebody come alongside you. And in a group environment, it's about having those other women come alongside you in your journey as well, too. So I love the saying, coaching helps you go farther, faster. And I've really seen that in my work with women, and I've been coached as well, too. And I just feel like it's so beneficial to be able to have someone come alongside you and help propel you forward. So if you are interested, and we're not going to go through a whole lot of information on this, you can go to the next slide now, Sue. For those of you who are maybe curious about the program, we wanted to share what is included. And again, I'm not going to read through all of these, but it is an 8-week group coaching experience. You'll also have one laser-focused 50-minute individual coaching session with either me or with Sue. We're going to have worksheets, resources, a workbook. So there's all kinds of things that are going to be coming with this. And it's going to be taking you through in a group environment over the 8 weeks, those 3 steps that Sue talked about, the roadmap. And again, we've already kind of started diving into unique brilliance, and it's really about moving then toward explore and then toward launch. So we are super excited to be opening this up to women.
So, so the cost for this, we're offering a special introductory price at $7.99, valued at almost $2,400. And I'm going to put a link up. And we're also offering a $100 discount for anyone who attended this workshop. And if you need time to think about it, we'll give you like 24 hours. There is limited time and space. And let me go ahead and just post that link now. And of course, if you have any questions about the program, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to talk about it with you.
And Sue, do you want, I know we have just a couple minutes left, do you want to go to the slide that says what you can expect? So if people do sign up, they'll know what's coming.
Yeah, so what will happen is you can click on the registration link in the, on the right there. It says sign me up. You can click on that. It'll take you to our registration page. And once you sign up, you'll get confirmation email with a receipt. And then we'll send you an invite. There's that private Facebook group just for this small cohort of women. And then you'll hear from us within 48 hours on next steps.
Yeah. And if it's something that you forward the information on to, we'd appreciate it if you maybe it's not for you, but maybe you know a woman who could benefit from this or who might be interested in it as well. Anything else on that, Sue, before we move to the free gift?
Let's see. Not that I can think of.
Okay, and this is just reiterating, we've got that $100 discount for anyone who signs up in the next 24 hours. So we would, first of all, we just want to say thank you so much for not only attending, but for participating and being involved in this and sharing your heart and your insights and your answers as we've gone through these exercises. We so appreciate it. There's so much value in even just being able to see other women's answers. We appreciate your time. If you're watching this as a recording after the fact, we appreciate you going through this and dialing in and watching it as well. And we really hope that you were encouraged and that you were equipped through this. We do have a free gift we want to give you. I'm going to get to that in one sec. But Sue, any final comments?
No final comments. Just if you have questions, my email is down there, Susan@happycareercircle.com. Feel free to reach out. And if you want to reach out to Jenny, hers is Genny@happycareercircle.com. In just the last minute, does anybody have any questions?
And Sue, can you put up the free gift slide? Or you already posted the free gift in the chat?
Yep, it's
okay.
there.
So we have the guide. What we did was we put together a Get Clarity guide that will take you further on this process of discovering your unique brilliance, and you can just download that, and that is your free gift to say thank you for sticking with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Gentry. So nice to have all of you on here.
Yes, thank you, Tammy, for coming.
Thanks, Tammy. Paige, thank you.
It's been such a joy to be with everyone today.
Yes, it has been.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Well, we'll hang on till the very last minute if anyone does have any other questions. Otherwise, you all have a beautiful, beautiful day. You too, Tammy.
It's going to be a beautiful day. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.